Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are uncovering a story that is rarely told in full, the secret history behind the Shafrir missile, Israel's first truly home-built air-to-air weapon and a turning point that quietly reshaped the country's military future. This is not just a story about a missile, but about survival, urgency, failure, and eventual transformation under extreme pressure. In the early years of Israel's existence, the country faced constant aerial threats from neighboring states. Enemy aircraft were faster, better armed, and often supplied by global superpowers. Israel, on the other hand, struggled with arms embargoes and political isolation, making it extremely difficult to import modern weapon systems. This harsh reality forced Israeli planners to think differently. During the 1950s, Israel relied heavily on foreign-made air-to-air missiles, especially early heat, seeking designs supplied by allies. But these weapons were limited in number, unreliable, and politically risky to depend on. Any shift in international relations could leave Israeli pilots without critical tools in wartime. This fear planted the seed for something radical. The idea emerged that Israel must build its own missile, designed specifically for its needs, geography, and combat style. At the time, this seemed almost impossible. Israel lacked experience in advanced missile technology, guidance systems, and rocket propulsion. But necessity has a way of accelerating innovation. The project that would become Shafrir began quietly in the late 1950s. The name Shafrir means dragonfly in Hebrew, symbolizing speed and agility. The vision was simple on paper but extremely complex in reality. Create a short-range, heat-seeking missile that could be launched from Israeli fighter jets and reliably destroy enemy aircraft. Early development was full of uncertainty. Israeli engineers had to build entire technological foundations from scratch. There was no long history of missile design to rely on, no vast industrial base, and no margin for error. Every component, from the seeker head to the rocket motor, had to be developed through trial and error. The first version, later known as Shafrir 1, was ambitious but deeply flawed. Its infrared seeker struggled to lock onto targets reliably, especially in complex combat environments. The missile was slow to react, had limited maneuverability, and often lost its target after launch. On paper, it existed. In combat reality, it disappointed. Despite these problems, the missile was rushed into service because there were no better alternatives. Israeli pilots trained with it, hoping it would improve over time. But when real combat tests arrived, the results were painful. Shafrir 1 achieved very few confirmed kills, and pilots often preferred their cannons instead. This phase could have ended the program entirely. Many argued that Israel should abandon domestic missile development and return to foreign suppliers. The failures were costly, embarrassing, and dangerous, but Israeli leadership saw something others did not. Failure was not proof of impossibility, but proof of inexperience. Instead of canceling the program, Israel doubled down. Engineers studied every malfunction, every missed shot, and every combat report. They understood that the core idea was sound, but execution needed drastic improvement. This mindset became a defining trait of Israel's defense industry. Out of this determination came Shafrir 2, a missile that was not just an upgrade, but almost a complete redesign. The seeker was improved to better track heat sources, even during high-speed maneuvers. The rocket motor was enhanced for greater speed and range. Control surfaces were redesigned to allow sharper turns in dogfights. By the late 1960s, Shafrir 2 entered service at a critical moment. Regional tensions were high, and air combat was expected to play a decisive role in any future conflict. Israeli pilots now had a weapon that finally matched their aggressive and flexible combat doctrine. When real war came, the missile proved its worth. In aerial battles, Shafrir 2 achieved multiple confirmed kills against enemy aircraft. For the first time, Israel had a domestically produced missile that could compete with foreign designs. This success was more than tactical, it was psychological. The Shafrir program demonstrated that Israel could design, build, and improve advanced weapons under pressure. It broke the mental barrier that had limited ambition before. Engineers, pilots, and commanders now trusted local solutions. This confidence would shape decades of innovation to come. What makes the Shafrir story truly important is not that it was perfect, but that it was imperfect and improved anyway. The missile taught Israel how to learn fast during wartime, how to connect pilots directly with engineers, and how to adapt systems based on real combat feedback. These lessons directly influenced later projects. The experience gained from Shafrir eventually led to the development of the Python missile series, which became some of the most advanced short-range air-to-air missiles in the world. Without Shafrir's painful beginnings, those later successes may never have happened. Shafrir also changed Israel's strategic independence. No longer entirely dependent on foreign political decisions, Israel gained more control over its own defense planning. This autonomy became critical during periods when international support was uncertain or conditional. Another overlooked aspect of the Shafrir story is how it reshaped Israel's defense industry culture. Engineers were encouraged to take risks, accept failure, and iterate rapidly. This approach later spread beyond missiles into radar systems, drones, and electronic warfare. From a technological perspective, Shafrir was not revolutionary by global standards at the time. Other nations already had heat-seeking missiles, but for Israel, it was revolutionary internally. It proved that a small country under constant threat could compete in advanced military technology. Pilots who flew with Shafrir often described a shift in mindset. They felt a personal connection to the weapon, knowing it was built by people who understood their operational realities. This connection increased trust and willingness to use the missile aggressively in combat. The secrecy around the program also played a role. Limited information was released publicly, and even allies knew little about its true capabilities and limitations. This secrecy added an element of uncertainty for adversaries, which in itself can be a strategic advantage. Over time, Shafrir quietly faded from front-line service as more advanced systems replaced it, but its legacy never disappeared. Every Israeli missile that followed carried lessons learned from those early struggles. Today, when people talk about Israel's advanced air-to-air missiles, they often skip straight to modern systems. The Shafrir is rarely mentioned, yet it is the foundation on which everything else was built. It represents the moment Israel stopped copying and started creating. The secret story behind Shafrir is ultimately about transformation. It is about a nation learning through failure, refusing to accept dependency, and choosing long-term capability over short-term convenience. In a region where air superiority can decide survival, Shafrir was Israel's first step toward owning the skies on its own terms. It was not perfect, it was not easy, but it changed everything. That is why Shafrir is remembered not just as a missile, but as a game changer that quietly shaped the future of Israeli air power and defense innovation.